This is the Resilient Advisor Show with Jay Coulter.
Joining me for this episode of Resilient Advisor is Carol Lee Roberts with the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysts. Interestingly, Carol Lee was one of the first participants on the Resilient Advisor Show 5 years ago when we were just an audio broadcast. So I was always grateful that she came on to share her thoughts on divorce in the advisor community. Today, we've evolved into video and live streams and TikToks. Carol Lee, I appreciate you coming back on.
Oh, my pleasure, Jay.
All right. So what I'd really like to do on this episode is walk through why keeping your eye on divorce as it relates to your planning practice is so important. And it seems to me the best thing we could do is talk about some of the statistics around divorce. What's top of mind for you today?
Well, I think what's top of mind is everybody who will hear this has heard that 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Now, the good news is that's not true. It never has been true. It was a statistical anomaly. But the reality is that the divorce rate is about 34% in this country right now. Far more interesting is the divorce rate of those individuals 50 and over is at about 42%. And the divorce rate has more than doubled for people over age 50 and has more than tripled for people over age 65. So as you're talking about retirement assets, it's very important that you're aware of the fact that gray or silver divorce is on the rise in the U.S. and every indication we have is that's going to continue to be the case for the immediate future.
Yeah, I remember some of those statistics from our first interview half a decade ago. And the term gray divorce and silver divorce was new to me, but something just stood out in what you said. Folks over the age 65 are seeing their divorce rates increase. That's unreal. Like, why do you think that's happening?
I think it's happening for a multitude of reasons. First of all, those people are part of the baby boomer generation that got married and divorced relatively young. And we already know that the divorce rate for second marriages is statistically higher than first marriages. And the divorce rate for third marriages is a scary 63%. So we're talking about a demographic that's on their second or third marriage. That's part of it. The other part is longevity. People who are 65 now have about a 20-year life expectancy. And if something about the marriage isn't working, I'm just going to grin and bear it and outlast my partner doesn't really seem to be feasible.
Right. For the greatest generation, that runway wasn't quite as long. Now you're looking at a couple of decades. Yeah. And just to clarify, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, the silver divorce are folks over 65. The gray divorce are folks over the age of 50. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So in my experience, advisors that are targeting the pre-retirees and retirees generally start at about age 50. So when you look at that gray divorce, the pre-silver, what are you seeing in that space?
Well, seeing a couple of things. There's, as I said, that particular divorce rate has doubled. And when you're looking at divorces in the 50 to 65 age, you're talking about two large assets, the retirement account and the house. And both of those have really specific differences when you're talking about dividing them due to divorce and the tax consequences. And it's very important that an advisor either be aware of those differences or make the decision they're going to refer out divorcing clients and be in touch with a CDFA professional.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the designation, but first, at a high level, like, why do we need a designation that focuses on divorce?
Well, because as I mentioned before, there are very specific tax provisions when you're talking about divorce. There are very specific ways of evaluating and dividing a retirement plan, which is probably either the larger or the second largest asset in the divorce. And although there are a lot of really good financial planning professionals, and there are currently over 90,000 certified financial planners in the US, the reality is that the divorce component of the CFP curriculum is a subtopic under a subtopic in estate planning. Divorce is covered as divorce, same-sex marriage, special situation, and others in estate planning in the CFP curriculum. And there are just such specific things that go into divorce financial planning that I'm a big advocate that either you do the homework and get the special education you need to help your divorcing clients, or the alternative is you find a CDFA professional in your area that you're comfortable referring the work out to.
Yeah, so I'm a CFP holder myself. There are some areas where I feel they have been slow to apply resources and in particular education. Crypto for sure, because it's become such a big area. But divorce has been an issue for generations as it relates to financial plans. Why do you think they've been so slow to increase the educational component in the curriculum?
Well, I think part of it is because divorce very early on got pegged as a woman's issue and something women financial advisors should use as their niche, which, yes, divorce does negatively impact women, and it has a bigger impact on their quality of life after divorce than it does on men. I think that's because we're still looking back at data when the primary breadwinner was the man. I think in 10 to 15 years, the impact of divorce on the lifestyle after divorce will equalize between men and women. But because it was considered a women's issue and it was the bailiwick of female advisors, and you still have less than 30% of CFP professionals are female, I don't think they've kept pace with the fact that divorce is really impactful and something that needs to be addressed by financial advisors.
Man, I'd never even thought about that. The divorce statistics as it relates to the division of the financial assets, I mean, they'll actually be fundamentally different as Gen X goes through the pipeline and starts to get into the silver or the gray divorce and then the silver divorce, just because there are so many women in the workforce now.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the designation. So if you're a financial advisor and you've decided, maybe I need to focus my practice on serving folks that are going through a divorce, let's start with this. What is the process for earning the designation?
Well, the process for earning the designation is you have to meet our eligibility requirements, which is either 3 years of financial advising experience plus a bachelor's degree or 5 years of relevant on-the-job experience. In addition to the eligibility requirements, we have a certification exam. The certification exam is a proctored examination, and it's 150 multiple choice questions over a 4-hour period. And then finally, you have to agree to our Code of Ethics and Practice standards. Now, IDFA does also provide pre-certification training, but it is not required. Any individual can download the examination blueprint, look at it, and if they want to challenge the examination, they can, or they can take one of our programs. And we offer self-study programs, e-learning in a self-paced environment, and we also have a virtual classroom.
You can learn more about the steps in the program by visiting institutedfa.com, institutedfa.com. After somebody goes through the program, they've earned the designation. What are some of the best practices and results that you've seen from some of the practitioners that carry your certification?
Well, it's really interesting because there's almost 2 distinct paths of being a CDFA professional. We have individuals who pair this with their wealth management practice, and they provide this expertise for those clients going through divorce, but they also have a very robust wealth management practice. We also see about 10% of our CDFA professionals that choose to focus only on divorcing clients. Some of them no longer do any wealth management. They only work with divorcing clients and the division of assets. And although I find it surprising, we get reports from our CDFA professionals that this is one of the most enriching experiences they have, and it's quite enjoyable. And I think the concern that why would I want to be a certified divorce financial analyst because I'm going to be dealing with people who are fighting and screaming and all the atrocities of, War of the Roses. That's not the reality. I mean, less than 5% of divorces are even litigated. Most people going through divorce simply want an equitable division of assets, want to make sure that their soon-to-be ex-spouse is going to be able to live comfortably, and want to make sure that their children are taken care of. It isn't this blood sport that the media has made it out to be, and it can be a really enriching way to help your clients.
Yeah, I tell you, it doesn't have to be a blood sport. That's a great line. That will be a clip we get out from this show because it doesn't have to be a blood sport. All right, so to learn more about the program, how it could help your practice, how it could help you better serve your clients, or even find that niche you've been looking for as a financial advisor, learn more about the designation by visiting institutedfa.com. That's institutedfa.com. Carol Lee Roberts, I appreciate you coming back on the Resilient Advisor Show.
Thank you, Jay. My pleasure.